Hey guys, it's QuickyBaby and welcome back to World of Tanks, and today we've got the pleasure of watching AkiEvelin playing in the Tier 9 American non-turreted tank destroyer. It is the T95. Now, this vehicle's a fan favourite, and I was just checking, I haven't featured this tank on the channel in, got like 3 or 4 years, but I guess that's if you exclude it from my top 10 armoured tanks that I fairly recently put out on the channel. And this was number 1. This tank bounces more rounds percentage-wise than any other vehicle in the game. Absolutely ludicrous stuff. I guess when we think about it, I was excluding very low-tiered tanks because quite a few of those vehicles like the Panzer IIJ meet things that literally can't penetrate, and they're going to be bouncing tens of rounds off with all the tiny little pop guns that they've got. But the T95, considering it just holds up so well at high tier, is utterly phenomenal. And how does it do this? Well, it's got over 300 millimeters of frontal armor, and the side armor isn't that bad either. We're talking about 152. Really decent side armor might be 120 millimeters like you have on the E75, for example, and the T95 takes it to a whole new level. The rear armor, well, really not so good. 50 millimeters, and so if you absolutely utterly want to dominate one of these things, then you're going to have to somehow find a way behind it. Now, one thing that's interesting about the T95 is that if for some reason you can't get the rear of the vehicle and you've only got the side, try to avoid shooting into the tracks here because they count as a whopping amount of space armor. I'm actually going to have to just quickly take a look. How much space armor do the tracks on this tank even count as? 40 millimeters? But there's also a plate on the side here that counts as an extra 40 millimeters of spaced armor. And so that means that if you want to get through the side here, even if it's not really angled at all, you're going to need about 250 millimeters of penetration. So what you should do is actually shoot above this. If you can manage to catch this area of the tank up here, you're only going to need about 80 millimeters to get through, and if you can't quite see the top, or maybe it's a hard angle because you're shooting up at it, then just shooting through here, at least then you only have to get through 65 millimeters of spaced armor, and you should be able to get through that with about 180 millimeters of penetration. And also, one thing to mention is that I think these actually count as the fuel tanks on top of the T95. When I was trying to do my incinerator mission back in the day, it was one of the hardest things to do for the Object 260. You had to set a fire that was a tier higher than a tank that was a tier higher than you twice in a single battle, and that was absolutely brutal. One of my most ridiculous reactions, I think, is either up on this YouTube channel or at least up on one of my Twitch highlights when I finally managed to do it, I believe, in an E25 or a Comet. No, I think I was in a Comet signing up with E25, so trying to fudge the matchmaker a little bit, and I think I set a T28, just a T28. I was going to say prototype there, the standard non-turreted Tier 8 American tank destroyer on fire. But yeah, so if you can try and shoot into these fuel tanks through this part of the vehicle, or you can get some juicy fires on a T95, and with 1,800 hit points, that might lead on to you having some serious high caliber matches. So AkiEvelin here has not really done anything in the first 3 minutes of the game, but I guess he was doing that so I had a chance to explain why the T95 has been named as the Doomturtle. It doesn't get anywhere fast, right? But he's trying to take out the vision of the enemy team, and they seem to be sitting in those bushes down there, otherwise how could they be spotting him so easily? Now, this vehicle, as I mentioned, used to be called the Doomturtle, and that's because it was absolutely painfully slow. We are talking about having a 13 km/h top speed limit back in 9.17. It was absolutely horrendous, and the reverse speed of this tank was 6 km/h, immensely frustrating when you wanted to pull back round the corner, or alternatively if you just wanted to stop somebody from getting your flank. However, in 9.17.1, Wargaming significantly buffed this tank. The top speed limit went up from 13 to 20, the reverse speed went up from 6 to 10, and also the power to weight ratio of the vehicle was substantially increased from 5.81 up to 8.89, which now meant that it could actually get around. God forbid a tank that doesn't have to just sit in base. Nevertheless, it doesn't look like Aki is really using the enhanced mobility characteristics of this tank so far, and he's sitting in probably one of the best defensive locations in World of Tanks. A narrow pass where you can force your enemies to have to slink their way up towards you, but spoilers, we might be seeing some action of that later on. So when Wargaming buffed the engine power of this tank, they didn't increase, or shall I say, change the ground resistances of it. But nevertheless, when you increase the traverse speed and the engine power of the vehicle, it also made it able to turn 33% faster on all terrains. Oh, there we go, finally! A real big roll there, 833, because while this thing isn't mobile, it packs a punch with its 155mm American tank destroyer gun here. Okay. So, AkiEvelin, not really the result you would want in a top tier tank for the first 5 minutes of the game, right? 1,600 damage. But it's him, a Moisian, and a T69 versus the world by the looks of, well, not quite the world, maybe more like 10 tanks on the enemy team. Now, how are they going to get through this? Well, unfortunately, they're flanking to Aki's left. They're flanking from below him with the Tiger, but I guess he's just going to stay on target here. Now, I have to admit, when I see play like this, I do get a little bit frustrated because clearly Aki could have had a more of an impact in this game so far to give his team a chance to win. And, you know, you don't want to see your top tier tanks just giving way to the enemy team or letting them just dominate your team and then trying to have a 1 versus 9 situation at the end of the game like Aki is in. But it looks like the IS-2 is going to blame the Moisian and not the T95. Obviously people just love the T95. It's definitely not the T95's fault, right? Anyway, Aki now in a 1 versus 9 situation. The T54 slips his way up the slope towards him, but Aki's never going to be able to roll for over 1,000 to take him out. However, he does roll for 792, and the T95 bumps into Aki a little bit, so he actually does 129 ram damage there. And while the alpha damage of this gun is very high, the DPM, well, it's not fantastic. 3.28 rounds a minute rate of fire, so he's going to have to keep these tanks just baited out in front of him here, and his armor is holding up very well. Premium rounds from the T54. Luckily that T54 does not have the top 100mm main armament with heat rounds, otherwise that would certainly be able to contest the front. However, Aki finishes off the T54 while also using the enhanced reverse speed of the T95 to now push this T34 up a cliff. What is going on here? Oh gosh, T34, it was the right move to try and flank the Doomturtle, but unfortunately now you're sitting right in front of his gun, and Aki rolls for 767 to finish off that tier 8 American premium heavy tank. Oh gosh, what is that? Now we're in a 1 versus 7. Well, that's 2 better than it was a couple of minutes ago. Wait a minute, is Aki going to one-shot this T29? Oh, he low rolls. Finally, his luck seems to be running out. 684 damage dealt there to the T29, and here comes the Type 4 heavy. Aki's done a great job of isolating his opponents, even though he's so massively outnumbered, and that's obviously down to the terrain, and clearly because the Stridsvagn 1030 hasn't quite managed to find him. Now it looks like the T29 has got fed up of bouncing armor-piercing rounds, as he fires a high explosive round at the top of Aki's tank. However, doesn't do any damage at all. And where's that Stridsvagn S1 going? Is the Stridsvagn going to go and cap? Maybe he's had enough of this shenanigans, and it looks like that's exactly what he's going to do. So the tier 8 premium Swedish tank destroyer, probably one of the few guns on the enemy team that have enough penetration to be able to contest the front of this tank, decides to go and cap. And finally we know where the Stridsvagn 1030 is. He's sitting down there and he's firing high explosive rounds into the side of Aki's tank, I guess to try and take his tracks off. Oh, big mistake there. Type 4 heavy gave Aki your lower plate, and Aki punishes it instantly. Now in a 1 versus 5 from a 1 versus 9, and Aki hasn't even really lost his hit points, but the enemy team are finally doing the intelligent thing, going, hey guys, maybe this isn't quite going to work out for us. Maybe we should just cap and force him out of his defensive location. Wow, Aki clutches one there into the Indian Panzer, manages to reset the cap, and now we can see that even the Tiger on the enemy team manages to penetrate the side of Aki's tank now that he has to leave his hill. There you go, T25 2 punishes, but I love what Aki's doing here. He's going to tank the damage with his hit points and secure one of the flanks. Beautiful stuff. He's just taking hits from tanks that are 2 tiers lower than him in the rear of his vehicle, but he's doing exactly the right thing here. He doesn't give a damn. He's staying on target. He's going to focus on what's in front of him, and through reversing very well there, and the fact that the T25-2 and the Tiger didn't manage to track him, he actually finishes off the Indian Panzer, and now he can get his tank around to turn his attention to the T25-2 and the Tiger, and look at them, they're like, oh god, what do we have to do to take this tank out? And they should have made more of it. They should have tracked him in place. They should have locked down the rear of his vehicle, and then they would have been able to take him down. But it doesn't look like they were quite thinking that through, and now the enhanced speed of the T95 manages to track down this T25 too and finish him off. Good shot there. So this mobility buff to the tank is definitely allowing Aki to do things that you otherwise couldn't have done before patch 9.17.1. But finally the Stridsvagn 1030 arrives, who hasn't been spotted until now and is on 3 kills. That tier 9 Swedish tank destroyer seems to panic as he comes over the ridge, enters the siege mode, but now Aki manages to use the wreck of his enemies as a defensive position against the Stridsvagn 1030. Is he going to penetrate him? He finally does, aiming into the, I guess, the weak point on top of Aki's tank, but it's too little, too late. The advantage of the Stridsvagn will be mobility, it will be accuracy, it will be the fact that it can snipe and use camo rating. It's not going to do very well against a T95 in an up close and personal fight. So I guess Aki believes that the Tiger 1 must have tried to either run away or go back to flank him. But you know what, I don't think he's going to be able to reach the cap circle in time. He has to find this Tiger if he wants to shut him down, and there he is. Clever girl, you are not going to be today. Trying to sneak up behind the T95 here, and the Tiger is now right in front of him, but the Tiger manages to penetrate. Where in hell's name did the Tiger penetrate there? Maybe up into the lower plate? Looks like it. Looks like there's a hole just down there. And so that means that Aki is now a 50-50 whether he's going to die to one more shell from the Tiger. He bounces one. He's got to stay on target, reload, hopefully bounce one more shell. There you go, right off what looked like the gun on the front of the tank. And Aki shuts down the final remaining vehicle. 11 kills and a 1 versus 9 secured. What an intense ending to this round of World of Tanks. So unsurprisingly, an ace tanker here for Aki, and boy what an ace tanker, 2039 base experience points. They also pick up a Kolobanov's medal for standing alone against at least 5 opponents, in this case 9. A Paul's medal for the 11 kills, a Defender medal for protecting the cap circle against that Stridsvagn S1, and also the Indian Panzer, a high caliber for 10,445 damage, 5 times what anyone else on their team was able to achieve. A cool-headed medal for ricocheting at least 10 rounds in a row, and let's take a look to see what kind of steel wool this was. Wow, 7,145 damage blocked, 47 hits received, 40 of those ricocheted, and most of the others were either from behind or high explosive rounds. And while Aki was forced to unnecessarily fire those APCR rounds, still makes a 30,000 credits profit. So AkiEvelin, congratulations to you on this absolute monster T95 game. Once you got yourself into the situation, you handled it exceptionally well. I don't think you made a single mistake. And if there's one thing that you did that I didn't quite like, it was kind of letting your team die to get into this position in the first place. But maybe you did it just to have a heroic last stand, huh? Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up, but if you hated it, give it a thumbs down. And if you're watching this video as it's released on Sunday, it's time for another World of Tanks Tech Tree Showcase on twitch.tv/QuickyBaby. And this week, 663 of you voted on the poll website, and the winner is the tier 10 British medium tank, the Centurion Action 10. So come along right now as I work my way up one of my favorite medium tank tech trees. And if you've never been to one of my tech tree showcases before, they're basically like a miniature tank review, starting from tier 1 and working my way up to the tier 10 tank today, which is the Action 10. And so I'm really looking forward to seeing as many of you as possible right now on twitch.tv/QuickyBaby. And as always, thank you so much for watching. You've been epic, and hopefully I'll see you soon.